Okay, we're gonna try this again. So, okay, so I apologize. I am feeling a little under the weather and I sound sick. And if I sneeze or sniffle, I do apologize. But I wanted to talk with something that has been on my mind, and it's this idea of forgiveness. And like the definition of forgiveness is to cancel a debt or stop feeling angry or resentful about something. And about someone's like mistake or offense that they've made. And when you're in a toxic relationship or one that's unhealthy, being someone who's easy to forgive because we have empathy or we understand the situation or we have we're like, oh, poor thing, made a mistake. And then we let them back in our lives in the same way that they were before. I've struggled with this. And a situation came up where I feel like forgiveness has already happened, but like in situations where, let's say your spouse is treating you poorly over and over again, and they ask you for forgiveness, or they demand it, right? And you forgive them because you're gentle and kind and that's what you do. Do you allow them the same space in your life? I can tell you, I have stopped doing that. If someone shows me who they are, I'm going to take note. I'm not going to allow the same space, the same access. And I'm talking about like real life. Like my partner used to be physically abusive. So was I gonna say, I forgive you and it's all good and now let's go buy a weapon? No, that was not gonna happen because I couldn't trust him in the same space, right? So while we're forgiving, and the Bible tells us, and society tells us, forgive and forget, because everyone makes mistakes. That's all well and good. But if this person continues to make the same mistakes and does the same thing and treats you the same ways, shouldn't you do something to establish yourself and set boundaries that take care of yourself? I am definitely of the thought that I will trust someone with my emotions, with my heart, with my whatever capacity they're in my life, with my friendship, until they prove me otherwise. And so I ask you, if you're in a relationship and you have someone who's treating you poorly pretty much all the time and all you're doing is forgiving them over and over, do you have resentment toward this person? Are you doing habits that then make you toxic because you haven't dealt with the root cause, that you're not being treated the way you should be treated, and you're allowing the same access to your heart and to your feelings and to your soul? I would ask you to take a look at that. Because in some ways we allow people to treat us the way we let them treat us. It's not up to someone else to decide how we are treated. It's up to us. It's up to us to make the decision who we let in our lives and how we let people treat us. 100% that decision is on you. Every time. I had to come to that place where I understood that the decision was mine and how I was going to let my ex-husband treat me. And if I wasn't okay with how he was treating me, it was my decision to make a change in that. And if he fell in line with it, it was great because that's really what I wanted. But if it wasn't, I was okay because I knew that I was loving me, being genuine to myself, and allowing him the access that he had earned. You don't have to blanketly say, I forgive you, and let them have every access they always had. This goes for like people you're dating. If you give them all the access and they don't treat you right, then you take that back. You don't continue to allow them to have access to you fully if they don't know how to handle it and how to have the responsibility of having it. That's what those boundaries are for. We've been talking a lot about boundaries in these things, in these like lives. And I want to encourage you, like, you can do it. You can set boundaries. You can set in place how you want to be treated. And if that person isn't going to treat you that way, let them go. The choice is yours. And I am like, do it. Just try it out. Try it out on a little thing. Try setting a boundary in a little way that you're comfortable with. Won't have a huge impact, but you can tell if there's a change, right? And try it. Set a little boundary. Like, what's a good one? Let's see. When I was in my abusive relationship, one thing that I tried to do was, we're not going to fight in front of the kids. I love you. I want to be around you. I want to be with you. But we're not going to fight around the kids. This was a boundary I set in our relationship. And it was one of the very first ones I actually set. Because I was tired of being talked down to in front of my children. Because I didn't want my children to grow up thinking that that was okay behavior to their spouse. So, when he would start, I would say, wait, we made this rule. We're not going to do this in front of our kids. And then I would walk away. And over time, like, he would get super mad and all these things would happen, right? But over time, guess what? He learned that we're not going to do this in front of our kids. And he stopped doing it because he knew I wasn't going to, like, buy into it or pay attention to it. And I'm going to sneeze, I'm sorry. And so that whole process started making me more confident in setting my boundaries. So then when it came to bigger things like, if you can't talk kindly to me, then I'm not going to be around you. Because I deserve respect, and because I'm a human being. Not because I'm anything special, but because I'm a human being, I deserve respect. So when I set that boundary, and he didn't follow it, and I walked away, and his reaction was big, then he started to feel like he was losing control. Because he could no longer say things in front of my kids, because I wasn't going to listen to it. He couldn't say things in a disrespectful way, or wasn't going to listen to it. And he started having the issue of resentment. And he would ask me for forgiveness, and I would forgive him, and we would go to figure out, like, what was going on and have a conversation later. But then the same thing would come up again. And I would do the same thing. I would leave. And not, like, leave my home or anything. I would just leave the area, you know? And over time, he learned that there was no place that he could talk to me disrespectfully without me just walking out of the space. This is something you can do. It's not creating chaos. It's not inciting more conversation about it. It's not anything. And when I would bring it up later in a respectful way, he could either choose to engage with me in the conversation or not. And then if it was, again, brought up in a disrespectful way, after I brought it up, right, I would stop the conversation again. And so he expressed a lot of frustration with this, which I was totally fine with, because I was gaining my strength. And I was showing him how I would be treated in this relationship, just as you can. Like, I started small. I started very small. And I started putting boundaries like, no, I'm going to listen to the music that I want to in my headphones. I don't have to listen to the music that you're listening to. It's not what I want to listen to. I mean, that seems silly, right? But, like, that was my life. That's where I lived. Like, if he thought I was listening to something that could sway me from wanting to be with him, that's what he did. And he wouldn't let me listen to it because he knew I was listening to things that were empowering. And he was scared and fearful of losing me. That's where my strength came from. Itty bitty, tiny little boundaries that I put in place to give me confidence, give me strength to make those big decisions, like leaving. It was the biggest decision of my life, the biggest, I can't even tell you, the best biggest, hardest decision of my life was to leave that man. And you can get there. Maybe that's not even where you want to be right now. That's okay. You don't need to be there. You can love yourself, set boundaries that are good for yourself, and hopefully that changes dynamics in your relationship and you can stay. Because I know at the heart of things, people want reconciliation. I wanted it. You didn't marry this person not to have it. So I want to encourage you. Like, setting boundaries is healthy. Finding out how you interact with someone and maintaining your peace while you do it is healthy. And it doesn't have to mean the end of your relationship. It can mean the beginning of a fresh start where respect and love and care is there. So I want to just encourage you, I reach out. If you're not sure how to do this, I'm there for you. I can help you. Book a call. I've got this like sweet little quiz. If you're wondering like, hey, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the toxic person, because you know what? I did wonder that. Like, I wondered if it was me. Like, am I causing this? And you know what? Sometimes it was me. Because I didn't have good boundaries, because I was a people pleaser, because I had anxious attachment styles. I had a fear of him leaving and me having nothing and no one. So yeah, I was bringing toxicity to the table. I can tell you this. But through growing, through loving myself, through acknowledging that some of that stuff was me, that I was bringing to the table and playing out over and over and over again in relationships, and attracting the wrong people. You can't find the right people if you're not healthy. You're finding unhealthy people because you're unhealthy. So working on those things, like, this is Tough Talk Tuesday. So let's just get it all out on the table. You can make the change. You are the change maker in your relationship. It is you. And if you're toxic and you're bringing things to the table that are toxic, learn how to let go of those things. Learn how to grow through them. That way you know at the end, you've done everything that you could do. And you'll feel good about it. I know I did everything possible. I changed who I was for bad reasons, but then I also grew. I learned what was happening in my relationship. I made changes to be healthy in my relationship, even if it wasn't with him. I made changes because I was the change maker in my relationship. I was a conqueror, a survivor. I've been a victim. I can tell you, man, I'm a powerful, strong woman. And you can be too. You can be. I know in your weak moments and in your trauma and in your daily life, it might not seem like you can be. But you can. If you give yourself a chance to do it. You got this. I promise. Shoot me a message if you want that link for the quiz. If you want to set up a call with me just to kind of run through things, like, no pressure. Let's just talk about where you're at and maybe some tips that I have done that can help you. Because nothing's going to change unless you change it. I guarantee it. That's the one thing I can guarantee. If you do nothing, nothing will change. So I hope y'all have a great day. I hope that you're ready to make a change, because I'm ready to hear from you and I'm ready to help you. So have a good day. See y'all later.